So, hello everyone, and welcome to STW Sports. And today, myself and my guest Jordan Evans are going to be previewing the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. It's getting close now, of course, Jordan. It literally starts just under a week's time at the time of recording. It's honestly so exciting, though, isn't it? I mean, just thinking about all the games we're going to see, obviously some of the best players in the world from leagues we don't usually watch. So the World Cup's always an exciting time. Fair to say, a unique time of year. Of course, it's in the winter. Usually, World Cups, well, they've always been in the summer every single year. But of course, due to circumstances, it has now changed. And this Qatar one will be over the winter. Virgil, how are you feeling going into the World Cup from an England point of view and from a general point of view?
Yeah, good evening, Sal. It's exciting, like you say, because it's like a different stage of the year to what we used to. Instead of being in a nice warm pub garden, we're going to be wrapped up in 4 layers of clothes. We've got chocolates instead of throwing beer around, so it's going to be a different experience, but one that I'm looking forward to. Obviously, probably may never happen again. Could happen again though if this is a success, obviously. But World Cup's just the best stage, the biggest stage in any sport, in my opinion. And I can't wait for it to get underway on Sunday. And obviously England's first game Monday. Don't really know yet how I see us doing in the tournament, but we've got a strong squad, I think. So we've got as good a chance as any, to be honest, man. And obviously this time around, the players didn't come from like a break into the football. They've come straight from the Premier League. So hopefully that works in our favour. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, no, I agree, Jordan, to be honest. I think that obviously it's an interesting one this year. It's very harsh that if a player got injured this gone weekend, they're probably going to be out of a tournament or at least the group stage, depending on it. I mean, we've had Sadio Mane, who's a big risk of injury. Some big players, really, across the world. I think that most players have stayed injury-free, the big names especially, which is obviously great news. And obviously, as you say, the World Cup, usually when a season ends, you get that little bit of a gap, of course, don't you, where about 3 or 4 weeks where if you are injured, you can recover. Unfortunately, this year, you literally get in a week, and that's it. If you got injured this weekend, there's a good chance you won't be playing. So, yeah, it's obviously going to be matched 4 weeks of tournament, as well as the World Cup always is, the 20th of November till the 18th of December. And we're going to go through every group stage, Jordan, now. Obviously, 8 groups as usual, 4 teams. It's going to be good, the group stage, and we'll go for predict every single group and who we think is going to finish where, and then obviously we might do a later episode, we might do the knockouts as well. So we're going to start with Group A. Obviously, the tournament starts on Sunday. Qatar versus Ecuador. I mean, certainly not the most glamorous World Cup opener we've ever had, but I think, to be honest, from my personal point of view, a lot of people are writing off Ecuador, to be honest. I think Ecuador are a good team. Qualifying for the South American region is not easy. And the fact that Chile and Colombia are on at this tournament kind of proves that as well. And obviously Senegal and Netherlands, who will be the overwhelming favourites to go through. I mean, obviously with the loss of Sadio Mane or potential loss, I do think Senegal's chances have certainly dipped on that regard, but they are still the AFCON champions. So they're obviously not just Mane in the team. They've got other good players. And Netherlands, I like the Netherlands' team, but I do think that an old manager like Louis van Gaal, I know he did well at the tournament 8 years ago in 2014, but times certainly changed since then, unfortunately. And I think Netherlands might be held back by Van Gaal's tactics. But where do you see this group going, though, Jordan? What's your prediction, 1 to 4?
I think it's pretty straightforward who's going to come out on top. I think the Netherlands have got too much about them, obviously, for the likes of Senegal, Ecuador, and Qatar. Qatar, I don't think I could name a single player, if I'm completely honest. But they'll have a huge backing. Obviously, we've seen it in tournaments previously with like South Korea. Back in 2002, they got all the way to the semis just because it's on home turf and it can obviously go in teams' favours. This has been 12 years or so in the making now, and obviously their players are going to give 110% effort. It's going to be very hot as well, so we've got to take that into consideration. But yeah, I think Holland win that comfortably. I think they'll win every game, if I'm honest. Obviously, like you say, Louis van Gaal is a little bit. He's a strange manager, but he's a successful manager at the same time. Obviously, we've seen him in the World Cup when he used to make the subs. He'd met the subs obviously for just before penalties, and that worked in the favour. He'd bring Tim Krul on to win on the penalty shootouts as well. But yeah, I can't see anything less than a Netherlands 9 points into that and comfortably into the round of 16. Coming second, I probably would say Senegal, I still think they've got enough to get out of that remaining three in the group. I think they'll get some points off Qatar and Ecuador respectively, even without Mane. I mean, there is some sort of rumours that he is going to have some kind of injection to try and get him there, because obviously he's their talisman, and let's see what happens with that. And if he does come, you know, Mane is a world-class player. He has been on the Premier League stage for what, 5 or 6 years easily, so he'd cause some trouble if he can get back fit, but let's see with that one. But I can still see Senegal having enough for second. Ecuador, I think, third, and I think Qatar fourth. I would think, like I say, it could be different with those two. Those, anything below Netherlands, I think you could maybe switch a couple around, but yeah, I can't. Me personally, I can't see Qatar picking up a point. I think they'll be happy to get a goal.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I feel the same. I think that, I mean, and I get what you're saying about Netherlands. I do think this is still a very young Netherlands team who have lost a lot of that great team they had from 2010 and 2014. Obviously, 2010 reaching the final. 2014, they finished third, didn't even qualify for 2018. So they really went through a transition, really, after 2014. They didn't even qualify for Euro 2016, which I think everyone qualified for with the format. So, you know, it kind of says how, you know, poor they went for a while. But I do think Netherlands will top the group. I agree with you. I don't think they'll get 9 points. I think they'll get 7. I think they'll drop. I think the first game between Senegal and Netherlands could be a draw. But I do think Senegal will finish second as well. I'm with you, to be honest. Ecuador third, and I mean Qatar. If Qatar do well, something's seriously wrong, in my opinion, because every team in this tournament, I can probably make a good case for doing okay. But Qatar are the one team I look at and think they just, surely they can't do well. Or I mean, like say if they get a goal, I mean maybe against Ecuador, but if they do well against the other teams. I mean, you did mention South Korea, obviously, and rightly so. They had a great run in 2002, and obviously even Russia in 2018. I mean, Russia weren't maybe as bad, but they got to the quarterfinal, took Croatia all the way to penalties. But I think Netherlands will do enough. Senegal second. I think the Mane situation reminds me a bit of Salah in 2018, when, of course, Egypt were in the same group as Russia. Salah wasn't fit enough to play, and I think they pretty much went out in the first 2 games. I think he played against Russia, but he was only about 30% fit, so ultimately they went out. So, but I do think Senegal will do enough, but I think it'll be quite close between Senegal and Ecuador, personally. I think that one might be a bit of a tight one for second spot, but I think Qatar overwhelmingly bottom. And yes, next up we move on to Group B, which happens to be England's group. So going into the host nation nice and early. Obviously, England favourites for the group. Iran, I mean, obviously a lot of controversy going on in the country of Iran right now. And they always seem to be at World Cups. They don't really do very well, but they always seem to be in the group and put up a decent fight. USA, I think, have got a pretty good team. Like, they're definitely a better team now than what we played in 2010. And Wales, I mean, when you've got Gareth Bale, despite his club not been great for his club in the last few years, he always turns up for Wales. So when you've got a player like Bale at his best, anything's possible. So this, for me, you'd probably put England top, but the rest of the teams, I think, could be any of them finishing second.
Yeah, 100%. I think it would be probably worse than 2014 and when we got knocked out of Iceland if we don't get through this group comfortably. I think getting 7 to 9 points can see us getting a draw along the way. Don't think it will be against Iran. I think it could be potentially against the USA or Wales, just because England seems to do that, like we did, back last year against Scotland. We always have a frustrating game, and everyone calling for Southgate's head, which is inevitable, which is going to happen over there. But I think with the squad that he's picked, 95% of it, I'm completely agree. Maybe Tomori and Tony, the only ones that I would have probably put in there. But other than that, Maddison had his injury scare Saturday. He's come through it, which is good, because I think he can put we got a few players now that can set that World Cup alight. And you got your Fodens, Bellinghams, Maddison, players that can really step up and produce something good in this World Cup. And I think, like I say, if we didn't finish top, I think even second would be a joke. To no disrespect to sort of Wales and USA, but I don't think our squad's just superior to any of theirs. Obviously, Wales have got Bale. Bale's just turns into like a prime Maradona. So when he plays for Wales, so you're always expecting something of him. He did it obviously against us in the 2016 Euros. He scored that free kick from about 40 yards out. So Wales, I think, will give us a kind of a tough game, and USA as well. But I think we should comfortably beat Iran in the first game next Monday. So I think I'll put us first between sort of 7 to 9 points, and then it's a toss up really between USA and Wales. And to be honest, Wales have done well in tournaments. Obviously, they got through to the round of 16 in the Euros. Obviously, they lost convincingly against Denmark 4-0. They got to the semis against Belgium. Was it Belgium? No, they got through to the semis, obviously, in back in 2016, sorry, in the Euros as well. So they are a good tournament team. And it's been an impressive Wales squad for, since sort of Gary Speed and the likes of them taking them off Chris Coleman. They have been a great tournament team, in all honesty. So I can see them potentially nicking it out at second. I probably would put them second. And then USA, obviously, like you say, Sam, they've got a much better team than they have done. You can just see the evolvement in their what they call soccer, that they're getting more players come through from the USA. Obviously, Christian Pulisic for us in our league, obviously the Premier League. And I think they might surprise a couple. So it wouldn't surprise me if they finish second and Wales finish third. But I do definitely think Iran are there just as a number. I don't think they potentially could get like 1 or 2 points, but I think everybody will collect points off them for sure. So yeah, England first. I'll have Wales second, USA third, and then Iran fourth.
Yeah, see, I'm a bit torn. I mean, I said before, obviously, it's between 3 teams. I generally think Wales and USA for that second spot. I think Iran can get it, but it's very unlikely. I think England will win the group. And as you say, Jordan, I don't think England have ever got 9 points in a group stage at a major tournament. I mean, even in the Euros, obviously, we only got 7, and we got all the way to the final. So we always have one game. And for me, I can see that being against Wales. We've already got 6 points out of Iran and USA. I can see the Wales game. If Wales need to win, I can see them actually winning that, or drawing maybe. So I will say England will top the group. I think we've got enough quality. I think, to be honest, the win against Iran's got to be convincing. If we win, I mean, a win's a win, but I mean, if we win 1-0 and it's boring, I just still don't think Southgate's going to be let off the hook. So, but then again, I kind of feel sorry for Southgate. If we do win like 4-0, people will say it's only Iran. So it's a bit like, no matter what happens, it's difficult. But I think the squad selection, obviously, I mean, Tony made a big statement at the weekend, obviously, with not being picked. However, I can see why he's picked Wilson. But yeah, I also think that Wilson's injury record in the last couple of seasons might be a reason why I should have picked Tony. And obviously Tomori as well. That's a poor decision to not take Tomori. But I do think England will get through the group convincingly. And I do think, yeah, 7 or 9 points, I agree. Second spot is tough. I mean, a lot of it's going to come down to that first game for me between USA and Wales. I think that I'm just going to give it to Wales because, as you say, Jordan, it's their first tournament since 1958 in the World Cup. So, and I think Bale, like I say, he just turns into a different player when it comes to Wales. And he's not even performing well in the MLS from what I've heard. So, but he's bound to turn up for Wales and do something special. And so I do think Wales will nick second spot, and I do think that game against England could be massive for them, the final group game. USA third, I think it will be close, and I do think Iran will unfortunately finish fourth, and I can't even see Iran coming away with 0 points. So, yeah, I'd say England definitely will win the group, and if that did happen, and our prediction so far, right, I think we played Senegal in the in the last 16, which wouldn't even be too bad either. So, let's see. But I mean, again, England, though, it's going to be an interesting tournament. As you say, I think Southgate, I think if England don't have a good tournament, it certainly will be the end of the line for Southgate. But let's move on to Group C now anyway. Argentina, one of the favourites, Saudi Arabia, Mexico and Poland. So a very interesting group, barring Argentina, you'd say. I think the other 3 could be up for grabs. Argentina, the overwhelming favourites, on a great run right now. Argentina as well. I don't think they've lost for a couple of years. And in the South American thing, that's quite impressive in the South American region. So what do you think of this group then, Jordan? Group C?
Yeah, obviously Messi's time to shine, isn't it? I think they'll convincingly finish top. Mexico, always a decent team. I mean, Mexico have got some good players, and you've got to think as well. The temperature and things like that. It will play a factor in some games. Obviously, Mexico's a hot country. They're used to playing, obviously in the heat. So I think they'll come good. Poland, obviously, they're a tricky team. Lewandowski's coming to sort of the back end of his career, but again, it's another person that's coming to their end of their career, so it's his last tournament as well. So he'll be wanting to prove a point, also as well. So in Saudi Arabia, again, another team that's just probably there for the numbers, but I can see Argentina comfortably winning that, to be honest. They've got so much talent in that squad, and rightly so, they are one of the favourites. And, you know, if England wasn't to win it, which I don't really think we will at the minute, but that would probably be the team I would want to win, regardless of obviously rivalries over the years. Just for Messi, I think he's just been such an amazing talent, and what a way for him to go out the World Cup as well, if he can lift it. But obviously this is the group stage, so I won't get ahead of myself yet. So the top, I would have Argentina. Second, I'll go for Mexico, just purely because I think they're a decent team, got some decent players as well. And I think Poland third, and Saudi Arabia fourth with 0 points.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I'm backing Argentina to win the whole tournament. I think the momentum they've got reminds me a lot of Italy going into the Euros. I think that when you're on a run, even though it's not in a major tournament, you're not losing games. It kind of goes into the tournament. And we saw Italy at the start of the Euro, how well they were playing. I feel like Argentina will take that momentum. And obviously, Messi's already got that international trophy when he won the Copa America last year, you know, when they beat Brazil. So that's obviously something off his back. And I think that this is now or never for Messi. And I think that will be something the team are going to think as well. You know, obviously it's about the team, but I mean, for Messi to get that international trophy, it'll be massive. So I do think Argentina, for me, they're my pick to win the whole tournament. But I mean, I think they'll end on 9 points in this group, to be honest. I think they're so informed going into the tournament. I think they'll carry that on. Second spot, I certainly agree. It's very tough between Mexico and Poland, because Mexico always get to the round of 16. I think in the last, I think it's about 5 or 6 World Cups now, they've got to the last 16, and they can't seem to break that curse. So I'm going to go with Mexico. So I do think Poland are on a bad team, but I don't think they can just rely on Lewandowski. I think that it's proven as well in tournaments over the years that even the quality of Lewandowski hasn't really taken them very far. And Lewandowski, obviously, still a great player, but he is getting old. He is older now as well. So I think Mexico will come second, and I can't wait to see Ochoa have a great tournament as usual. The Mexican goalkeeper, he always turns up in the World Cup. Poland third, and yeah, Saudi Arabia. If they're anything like they were in 2018, then yeah, they're definitely finishing last and convincingly last. But they always seem to qualify, Saudi Arabia. I'll give them that. But I don't think they'll go very far this time. Group D. Now, this group is pretty much identical to what we saw in 2018. So France, Australia, Denmark, who were all together in 2018, and Tunisia. So obviously, the world champions, France, they did win it back in 2018. So you'd have them as favourites. But I mean, Denmark are a lot of people's dark horse as well. So it's a bit of a close one on Group D, to be honest, in terms of the top two. And yeah, I mean, how do you see Australia and Tunisia maybe faring in this as well?
Tunisia, to be fair to them, I think they give us a bit of a tough game in 2018, and Harry Kane had to score that last minute goal to see the win through for our opening fixture. But France is a really peculiar one. Obviously, they're fantastic. You know, they've got the World Cup under their belt 2018, but then you've got to look at last year, and I feel like that's the real France. I feel like they're so star-studded. You know, they've got so many big egos that it's gone to show as well over the last sort of year or so that I feel like some of them feel like they're too big to play against each other. Like you can imagine if there was a penalty, the argument between kind of Mbappe, Pogba, Benzema. I think Pogba's injured, obviously, but I feel like there's too many egos. And obviously Didier Deschamps, I think it's his last tournament as well. I feel like these might be the flops, because you always get one big team that flop. Don't see them going out at the group stage, but I don't think they're going to win it. I just think that Denmark are going to sneak it. I think they're going to hit top spot. Obviously, done fantastic last year. Bit of an emotional tournament for them, obviously, with what happened with Christian Eriksen, but they still did fantastic in the semis and took us all the way to the extra time with a kind of a dubious penalty as well with Sterling. But we take it, obviously, we got to the final. But Denmark are up and coming. I feel like you say, some they're dark horses. How far in the competition will they go? I'm not sure, but I do see them winning this. I feel like they'll finish top of the leaderboard, and then France just behind them. Australia, I'm going to put Tunisia third, and then Australia fourth. I just think Yeah, I can't see Australia getting more than 1 or 2 points, to be honest with you. And then Tunisia, I can see maybe getting a sneaky win, um, or a point at least from like a France or a Denmark. I think they'll do something. So yeah, I'll have Denmark first, France second, and then Tunisia, then Australia fourth.
Yeah, as well as I'm actually going with you as well. I actually wasn't expecting to say Denmark would win the group. That was going to be like my surprise, really. And I agree with you. I think that France obviously did win it in 2018. It was a great achievement, but I feel like that France team had a lot more balance to it. I feel like I don't know what it was with that France team. I think that there was some they just had a lot more balance about them. I feel like, and obviously Giroud was in the team. Now they've got Benzema. Giroud was a very unselfish player. Mbappe was just breaking through, and this was an end where Mbappe was, it's fair to say, a lot less egotistical as well. So he was obviously, playing, giving 100% every game. And Griezmann was a lot better back in 2018 as well. So, and obviously you had Pogba, Kante and Matuidi, that midfield, which was just probably won them the tournament, in my opinion. I agree with you. I think France last year at the Euros is probably the more France we're going to get in this tournament. I don't think France are going to go very far at all. And obviously, team's record in the World Cup as well, when they've won it, has been terrible. I mean, I think the last 3 or 4 winners have gone out in the group. So I think Brazil are the only one since 1998 who've actually got to the knockouts. So it kind of says a lot, really. But I do think France will get out of this group, but I think they'll finish second behind Denmark. I think Denmark are outsiders for the entire tournament. I don't think they'll win it, the tournament, but they could definitely go on a good run just like they did in the Euros, and they've got a promising team. I do think Australia, though, will finish third. I think Tunisia, as you mentioned, they did quite well against us, actually, in 2018 England. They pushed us all the way to the end, but I just don't think Tunisia are really a great team. And I think Australia always seem to do okay in the World Cup. So I think Australia will finish third, but I don't think they'll get anywhere near qualifying. I think it'll be a comfortable top 2 of Denmark and then France. And that's Group D. Group E, 2 big hitters in Group E. Spain, of course, where I'll be watching all their games this year with being in the capital. Costa Rica, we know their heroics in 2014. Germany, and of course Japan. And Japan in the last tournament, at 2018, they pushed Belgium all the way, and in what was one of the best games in the tournament, I'd say. So Group E for me is actually a lot closer than what people might think.
Yeah, no, I agree. Definitely. So I think obviously Spain was unlucky last in the Euros as well. Obviously, just missed out on the final against Italy. So they've got a new generation of talent coming through. Obviously, with the youngsters coming in, they've got rid of quite a lot over the last couple of years, which seen them dominate. In the sort of 2008 to 2014 era. So they've been on kind of like a rebuild job, kind of like England, to be honest, but obviously a lot more successful. So I can see Spain having another good tournament. Something about the Spanish as well that sort of they tip me as an outside. I say outsider, they're still obviously one of the favourites, but I can see them potentially winning it alongside a couple of others. So yeah, and obviously going forward, and then Germany, it's pretty much the same as Spain. Obviously, last year in the Euros against us, I don't think that's the best Germany team, to be honest, that we've seen. But you've got a few more coming through the ranks. Like Musiala looks like he's going to be some player, and there's another few obviously youngsters that have coming through the ranks against Germany. So I think top 2 out of those 2, I'd probably going to go Germany first, then Spain. We'll go second. Costa Rica, like you say, they had a good tournament in 2014. A bit embarrassing against us. I think it was 0-0, wasn't it, in the end when we played them? But yeah, Costa Rica, I think, are decent. They'll be decent. I think they'll put up kind of a show. So I'll pop them third, and then Japan, I'll probably put fourth for them for that group.
Yeah, see, I'm actually quite interested. I think Spain and Germany are building 2 teams for the future. So I think this tournament comes a little bit too soon for both of them. I agree with you on Spain. I think in the Euros, they did well to get to the semi-finals. However, they were quite lucky in the group stage, in my opinion, in terms of they drew the first 2 games. And I think Spain have done well to not go with the old players, likes of Sergio Ramos and the likes of even David De Gea, which I'm very surprised isn't going, to be honest. But I feel like Spain are doing the right things and they're taking a young group of players. However, I don't really agree with them still taking Morata. I think that one's a bit, I think maybe to go, but obviously I've watched Atletico a few times this season. and he really started to look like his Premier League self, to be honest, again, rather than the La Liga Morata. So if that's the Morata that goes to the World Cup, Spain could struggle. Germany, I think that, I mean, as much as Timo Werner wasn't exactly a massive hit in the Premier League, I do think he'll be a big loss for Germany at this tournament, because usually he does perform quite well for this country. I still think they'll top the group, but I'm kind of torn. I think Japan are a team who play with so much heart as well, that I can see Japan maybe springing an upset against a Germany or Spain, to be honest. So, but in Costa Rica, I think the problem they've got is they've got a very old team at this tournament. I mean, Brian Ruiz is still going somehow. I think he's just retired from club football, and now he's about to, play his last international tournament. Joel Campbell's playing in Mexico now, and obviously Costa Rica did very well in 2014, but I do think they'll finish bottom. And I'm tempted to go with an upset, and I'm actually going to say Germany will finish third. I'm actually going to put it out there that Germany will be eliminated, because I think this tournament's just going to come a bit too soon for them, and I don't think they've got enough on-form players. So I'm going to go Japan second and Spain to win the group. But I don't think any of these teams, Spain or Germany, are going to go far, but I think that Spain will get the better of them in the group, and I think I'm going to go for a big upset. And in the next group, I've got another big upset coming. So we'll go on to Group F, which is Belgium, Canada, Morocco, and 2018 finalist Croatia. So, not a bad group, really. Two teams in Canada and Morocco who've surprised a lot of people by getting here. And obviously Croatia, you can say the golden generation's over now, but I still think they've got some quality players. And Modric, certainly, age isn't catching up with Modric either. And Belgium, they have a golden generation, but it's definitely fading away.
I feel like with a different manager, they could have potentially won one of the two tournaments we've just had. But like you say, they're aging now. The De Bruyne's, I think it's going to be potentially his last tournament because of the amount of injuries De Bruyne gets. Obviously, I think he's just the wrong sort of 30 now, but he gets injured quite a lot, so I can't see him continuing at the high intensity he plays for Man City as well as Belgium for another World Cup. Maybe get the Euros in 2024, but and he's obviously their best player. There's just something about this Belgian team that tells me they're not going to do well at all. I think they will get through the group stage, but I don't see them getting any further than that. But I don't actually think they're going to finish top in that respect. Actually, I think I'm going to go Croatia top, even though they have got obviously an Asian squad, like you say, Sam. They've still got enough quality in there. They still have got enough quality in there, and I do think there's an upset on the cards between them and Belgium. So I'm going to go them top. Belgium second. Canada, I'm going to go third. But the reason why I'm stuttering a little bit is because I don't actually think it's between them and Belgium. But I'm just going to go safe on this one. I'm going to put Canada third because they've got some decent talent in the ranks. Obviously, Alphonso Davies is in there, great player. David, he's fantastic as well. And then I'll go Morocco fourth. Not comfortable on that one, but I'm gonna. That's it. So I'll go Croatia top, Belgium second. Yeah, that's it. We'll go for them.
Yeah, see, my big upset in the tournament is, as you mentioned, Jordan, I think rightly so. I think one team always implodes and has a terrible tournament. I think in 2018 it was Germany, obviously. I'm going to say that'll be Belgium this year, and I think Belgium are going to be the team who get eliminated. And I think this tournament could turn quite ugly for Belgium, to be honest. I mean, they have got De Bruyne, who is one of the best players in the world. They have got Courtois, who's a fantastic goalkeeper. But I just don't see Belgium having a good tournament. I think they've got an aging team. I think they've had their chance now to win one of the big tournaments. I think the Euros, they obviously got beat by Italy. And then obviously the World Cup. They did well in the last World Cup, to be fair to them. They obviously beat Brazil. They got all the way to the semis and came up against a very good France team, in fairness, and obviously got beat then. So I'm going to say Belgium bottom. I'm actually going to say Belgium will. Well, I don't think they'll end on 0 points, but I think Belgium are going to have a poor tournament. I just don't see them doing well. And I think they're the team that I'm going to say are going to implode, basically, and have a terrible tournament. Croatia to win the group for me. I still think with the players like Modric and even Perisic, and I mean, I know they've lost like Mandzukic in 2018, and when I watched them in the Euros, I mean, they got to the last 16. They didn't do too badly. I think it might have been last 16 or quarterfinal when they played Spain, which was obviously a a very good game as well. I just think Croatia will still have enough to win the group. I think Canada will finish second. I think they've got a very promising team, Canada, and a lot of people will write them off, but I think they'll do well. And obviously that leaves Morocco third. I don't know how Morocco finish above Belgium, but I do think that generally is what's going to happen. I think Belgium are going to be the team to go out and have a poor tournament. And now we move on to Group G, which again is quite similar to a group in 2018 with Brazil, Serbia, and Switzerland, all who were all in the same group in 2018, and Cameroon as well, obviously making the fourth team in that group. Brazil, one of the favourites for the tournament, and so much attacking talent in their team, embarrassing riches, really. How do you see this group panning out?
Like you say, they've got so much attacking talent all over the pitch. I mean, the Brazil manager is going to have one of the hardest tasks in trying to pick out of Alisson and Edison, which is going to be a tough journey in itself. But they've just got a array of talent throughout the squad, and they've gone a little bit off the pace, World Cup scene for a little while. Obviously, 2014 had that massive, devastating loss against Germany. What was it, 7-1 in the end? So they're going to want to have a good tournament now. But yeah, I think Neymar, again, obviously, it's one of his last tournaments. Whether he'll pick the next one, we don't know. But they've just got talent all over the pitch. Obviously, that Vinicius Junior is coming from the ranks. A lot of them are from the Prem as well, which is interesting because we don't usually get a lot of Brazilians in the, especially from the squad in the Premier League. But a lot of them are coming over here now. So whereas obviously it's going to be, again, we're going to go back to it, hot country and things like that. You are going to fancy Brazil and the likes of Argentina to go sort of in the later stages of the competition. But I think, I think they'll comfortably win the group and set themselves up for a round of 16 tie. Between that, obviously, I don't know if he's here. To be honest with you, Sam, this year, Shaqiri, he always turns it. He's a nut. He always So he always turns it. He's like a bit like a Bale. Not saying their talent wise is anywhere near the scales, because obviously Bale's off the scales compared to him. But he turns into such a big game player for Switzerland. Obviously, we've seen him in the last couple of competitions as well. So he's going to do well for him, I think. And Switzerland are just an awkward side. Obviously, they've knocked out France in the World Cup in the Euros last year on penalties. Rightly so as well. I think they played brilliant in that game. What a game it was as well. So Switzerland will have a good tournament. Who was the other two against?
Serbia and Cameroon.
Serbia, yeah, that's it. Cameroon always seem to be in these World Cups as well. So I'm going to go Brazil top. I'm going to go Switzerland second, Serbia third, and then Cameroon fourth. But Serbia could potentially sneak into the second. So those second and third, I think, could swap themselves around. But yeah, Brazil definitely needs to go for it.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is the best Brazil team we've seen, probably since they won it in 2002. I mean, 2006, actually, they had an amazing team as well. But I think that team was getting on from 2002. It was the same team, but obviously 4 years later. So I feel like they obviously were getting on. I agree with you. Obviously, Brazil did get to the semi-final in 2014, but it obviously was in their own backyard. And the way it ended wasn't exactly one they'll like to remember, it's fair to say. And they really underwhelmed in 2018. I know they got knocked out in the quarterfinals by Belgium. But I think Brazil, though, their talent they've got now, and the likes of Vinicius Junior coming through, even Militao at the back, and obviously the two of the best goalkeepers in the world. I mean, still taking Dani Alves, which is amazing, to be honest. Dani Alves is still going, but the talent they've got going forward, though, Brazil, for me, is the fact that Martinelli is probably not going to play a single game is like saying a lot, really. Look how good he's been doing for Arsenal this season. But I do think Brazil will win it, and I think they could well end on 7 or 9 points. Second's interesting because I think with Serbia, what Serbia do have is a very on-form Mitrovic. And I think that obviously Mitrovic has started the season very well for Fulham in the Premier League. So if he can take that form into the World Cup, and we saw Serbia beat Portugal in qualifying against all odds as well. So Serbia, for me, and Switzerland, it's very close between the two of them. I'm just going to give the edge to Switzerland because I think they've got a little bit more tournament experience, and they usually get to the knockouts, albeit usually the last 16. And I think Serbia will finish third, and Cameroon I don't think stand much of a chance. I mean, I don't really know many Cameroonian players now, unless Samuel Eto'o's somehow still playing. they don't think's happening, then I think they'll definitely be bottom. I don't think they'll finish on 0 points, but I don't think it'll be a great tournament. And now finally, Group H, where we have Portugal, Ghana, Uruguay, and South Korea. So an interesting group, a bit of a two favourites in there in Portugal and Uruguay, but Ghana and South Korea as well. Two teams who have sprung upsets in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. South Korea, obviously, their amazing run back in 2002, but they ain't got the likes of Park Ji-sung and that anymore. Son, obviously, they've got Son. And it only takes in these competitions, one world-class player in these international stages. We've seen players literally drag them through games, and this is where the best players do come to the forth and perform, and they just go levels above like their club football, like I said, Tia Shaqiri, people like that just come out of the firing line and they could get a few upset results. I'm saying with Ghana. Obviously, Ghana had an amazing run a few years ago, I think 2010 World Cup. Portugal, obviously, a little bit disappointing. I think a lot of United fans are going to be disappointed by Ronaldo's interview with Piers Morgan, but he's still a top talent, and maybe not be the best player in the world anymore. He's coming to 38, 37, and okay, well, yes, he hasn't played many games this season, of course, for whatever reasons, but he's still a world-class player. And Portugal, I was watching the clip actually of the 2016 Euros earlier, and what he did when he got injured, he's just a motivator. And I think with it being his last World Cup, you wouldn't be surprised if he went on a run as well. I think everybody sort of want the fairy tale ending and a Portugal-Argentina final, which would be I think it would break internet views for years to come. But I think if you can get a fit and firing Ronaldo at that tournament and get himself sort of 4 or 5 goals and what he does around the pitch, Portugal have got some team as well. I mean, I was looking at their squad earlier, and they never get talked about at tournaments until sort of they get through the first the group stage. They do sometimes struggle in the group stages, obviously, as well. Obviously in 2016, then they just about scraped it through. But I think this time around, looking at sort of the opposition that's in their group, I think Portugal will win it. Maybe because I do want the fairy tale ending, and I think billions around the world would love to see it. I think they'll get I don't know. They'll be getting to the later stages. Maybe it's like the quarters, semis. I hope it would be a final. And then obviously South Korea, Heung-min Son. I'm going to go for them as the dark horses. I'm going to have them as second. Uruguay, obviously, you've got Suarez coming to the tail end of his career as well, but he's still some player. I don't know if Cavani's still in the squad as well. But Uruguay again, another South American team, hot countries. I mean, I keep mentioning about that, but the temperature is going to be kind of key. Especially how hot it's going to be over there. It's going to be. That's why I've had to play obviously in the winter. So Uruguay, I'm going to have to finish third, and then Ghana, just purely because I don't know too many sort of their players, and they haven't got like a Heung-min Son or a Suarez in their team. I think they'll just enjoy the experience. I think I'll have them to fourth.
Yeah, I think, like you say about Portugal, an interesting point they never really get talked about, even though having a player like Ronaldo. See, for me, I kind of disagree with the side of Ronaldo that you mentioned. I think this tournament could be pretty bad for Ronaldo. I think that, obviously, his comments on Man United, I mean, that was one of the bizarrest interviews I've ever seen, to be honest. I couldn't believe it. Well, the amount of people he criticised in that interview. I mean, but I think that with Portugal, they've got some fantastic players, and I think Jota's going to be a big miss. He usually plays quite well for them as well. I'm going to say Portugal will go through in the group. I'm not doubting that, but I actually think Uruguay. I think Suarez. I mean, it's his last tournament. I think Suarez is going to be very motivated. They've still got Cavani as well. They've got Darwin Núñez, who I know his Liverpool career has been a little bit hit and miss so far, but he's starting to come into a little bit of form. They've still got Diego Godin at the back somehow as well. I mean, I don't know how old he is now, but he obviously was a fantastic defender in his day. And I think Uruguay have got a style of play that really will frustrate teams. So I feel Uruguay are going to be a surprise and win the group. I think Portugal will come second. I think South Korea will come third. I do agree with you on Heung-min Son. I think Son's not had a very good season so far, but I do think he's still a very, very good player. And we saw South Korea beat Germany in 2018, obviously, I know they were already out by that point. It was not really a pressured game, but still, they can spring an upset. And Ghana did well in 2010, but I don't see Ghana going far. I think Ghana are generally there to make up the numbers this year. And I think Portugal and Uruguay, I mean, again, Ronaldo, it'd be great to see, Messi and Ronaldo both go far. I mean, I don't think any of them have actually ever scored a knockout goal in the World Cup, which is an amazing stat. I mean, to think about everything they've done in their careers and they've never scored a knockout goal, the pair of them, it's crazy. So I think that, I think I'm going to go with Uruguay to win it. I just think there's motivation of Suarez, and I think Uruguay have got a really good togetherness. And I mean, I think Fernando Santos is a good manager, but I think he was better suited to the group of players they had in 2016 when they didn't have a lot of talent other than Ronaldo. I think his style of play worked, but I think now they've got all these great players like Bruno Fernandes has come into play, and you've got Bernardo Silva, you've got some really good players. I just don't think he suits that. I don't think he's that sort of manager who's going to get the best, a bit like Southgate in a way. He's not a manager who's going to get the best out of an attacking group of players, and maybe that holds the team back in a way. So I don't think Portugal will go that far, and I think they'll get out of the group. And again, South Korea and Ghana. So I think South Korea third and Ghana, I think, will finish last. So, well, that's our group stage predictions done then, Jordan. I must say, I mean, I'm actually very excited now. It's under a week away till the tournament starts at the time of recording, as I mentioned at the start. And anyone in mind for you to be a standout player in this tournament, though? So we're not going to predict the knockouts yet, but maybe anyone in mind who could be the standout player.
I think this is a tournament for like a youngster to break the ranks, like a Vinny Jr. He's showed glimpses in the Champions League. Like last season, he was a joke. And because I think Brazil's going to do well in the tournament, I think Vinny Jr. will do well for Brazil. I think so. He could potentially be one. There's about 2 or 3 from England. But it's just, you don't know what team. Well, you do know what team Southgate's going to play. He's just going to play very basic, but you want to see the Fodens and the Madisons, people that can make stuff happen, like break through. So from England, I'm going to go Jude Bellingham, just because I do think he's going to start, and I think he'll thrive off this stage. We've seen him in the Champions League. We've seen him, in the last couple of games for England in the Nations League. We've seen him for Dortmund. I've seen him a lot down, obviously Birmingham City. Obviously, it's a huge step up in the World Cup, but he's got that wow factor about him. He's got that, he can turn a game on his head. He's got the passion. He's like a typical box-to-box midfielder. He can do everything. So it wouldn't surprise me if he lit up the tournament for England. So I think, and then the obvious one, and I think, I don't know whether I'm just sort of being a little bit fairy tale and romantic with this, but Messi, I think, there's always that debacle between Ronaldo and Messi. There always is probably going to be. There's going to be Ronaldo fans, there's going to be Messi fans, but as you get in sort of through the career, you look and you watch what Messi can do. I don't think you'll ever see a player that can control a game like he can. Ronaldo is great in moments. He can score, 40, 50 goals a season, obviously a couple of years ago, but Messi's just that person that can win a game on its own, and it would just be fitting for him. Obviously, of course, I want England to win the World Cup, or, praying that the day happens. But if it wasn't England, I think Messi could potentially then go down as officially the greatest. That you can't compare the two. So, I think they're just a couple that I can think off the top of my head. So Vinny Jr., Jude, and obviously the main man himself, Messi.
Yeah, that's fair enough, John. I think you make some really good points there. There's always 1 or 2 players you don't expect to break through as well, who no doubt will have a good tournament. But yeah, I'm really excited now, and I really hope it's a good tournament. I am going to back Argentina to go all the way right now, but you never know, though. I mean, a lot can happen in the World Cup. It's a different World Cup as well. It might even be the chance for an underdog to maybe, take the tournament by the scruff of its neck and obviously win, because that can happen. I mean, obviously, we've seen Greece win Euro 2004 all them years ago. I know, obviously, that's the Euros, a little bit less teams in it, so a bit different, but it certainly can be done. So I actually think that there could be an upset this year. And I mean, again, I just hope it's a good tournament, and I really hope it's good spirits. I mean, shame, obviously, about the time of year and the circumstances, but yeah, let's hope it's a good tournament. Let's hope England do really well. I mean, I'd love to see England go all the way and win it. I can't see that right now, unfortunately, but you never know. I'm definitely not giving up hope after the last couple of tournaments where we have gone really far, but yeah, it's going to be very difficult with the quality of other teams in the tournament, particularly the South American teams, Brazil and Argentina. So yeah, that's our wrap anyway, Jordan, on the 2022 World Cup preview. That's our group stage predictions. Cannot wait for the tournament now. Thank you very much for joining me this evening, Jordan. And yes, I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, speak to you soon, Sam. Thank you very much, mate.